Hi, folks. I'm here with a very special live stream and doing something I've never really done before. That is to go after someone, mm, really critique, but yes, go after someone who made a video recently that I became aware of. And I'm taking this person to task because it's very clear that this person took talking points that he used in this video from a piece I had written. He basically took some of those elements of my piece and used it for his video. Now, the person that I'm referring to in regards to that is one Spencer Cornelia. Now, this is a person I'm not familiar with. He's obviously a YouTuber with a significant audience, but this guy recently did a video called 10-Year Scam to Build a Fake School. Now, this video was about the psychologist Umar Johnson, or Dr. Umar Johnson. Now, Dr. Umar Johnson is an individual who, not only for his appearances on YouTube, but also, or being shown on YouTube, but also for his appearances on media outlets like The Breakfast Club, and I think he's done a show with Charlemagne the God elsewhere, and some other outlets. So, why am I talking about this Dr. Umar Johnson? Because I wrote a piece about this Dr. Umar Johnson in July of 2020. It was for my blog at the time, which was on medium.com. And my piece was, of course, dealing with the fact that Umar Johnson, in my view, was a con artist. Now, interestingly, we have this Spencer Cornelia come along and do a video where he states that Umar Johnson is a con artist. That's the basic orientation of his video before he has his kind of we don't really know, we're not sure / we're not sure kind of ending. So I feel compelled to do this because, and I've never done this before, I don't react to people's videos because I don't make content on this channel. Anyone familiar with this channel understands I do promotional videos for my writing work on Substack, and also I do it for my podcasts, which are not only on Substack but on Spotify. So I don't deal in this kind of stuff. So I don't deal with YouTube stuff. I don't deal with things dealing with YouTube. It's not my deal. So I've never done one of these before, and I've never had the occasion to kind of have to deal with someone who is, at the very least, an idea thief, as far as I'm concerned. The reason I call this Spencer Cordelia an idea thief is he took at least a couple of aspects from my article and used them as talking points for his video. Now, the first thing that he said, and again, if you want to take a look at my article on Umar Johnson, you can go to medium.com / at the doctor 50. That's medium.com / at the doctor 50. Because it's obvious that this guy read my piece, which he did not cite anything from directly in terms of quotes, nor give any kind of, nor did he cite the piece. Of course, he stole a couple ideas from the piece, but he didn't mention me or the piece, which is the basic problem that I have with this guy. So the first thing I would point out is in his video, 10-Year Scam to Build a Fake School, this guy at one point says, "Oh, this is giving me Catch Me If You Can vibes." And of course, there's a picture of Leonardo DiCaprio from the movie. Now, what's interesting is that my article's title is "I Can." Now, you could argue that I'm, nitpicking and that I'm, kind of trying to make something out of nothing there. But I don't believe this is something out of nothing. I'm sure there are other videos about Umar Johnson. Do they mention that? Do they say, oh, it's kind of like Catch Me If You Can? Also, the overall theme of scammer, con artist, again, borrows heavily from my piece. Now, in my piece, what I cite in it is, at the very beginning, I take a look at small cons or shorter cons versus long cons in dealing with what con artists do. And then I note, if there is a master of the long con online, it must be Umar Johnson. If you see the Spencer Cornelius video, guess what he says? Oh, this is the best cons or one of the greatest scams I've ever come across. This is one of the smartest scams, one of the smartest cons I've ever come across. Interesting. Plus, the fact that he uses the term long con, again, in my piece, I state directly that what Umar Johnson is involved in, as I mentioned here in this quote, is the long con. I stated directly in my piece. Now, another aspect that you see in the video is this. So these are a couple of aspects. Now, again, I'm sure people will argue or disagree with the fact that I talk about Catch Me If You Can versus my title, Catch Him If You Can. Now, what I note in my P, what he notes is how good Umar Johnson is, or Dr. Umar Johnson is, at looking into issues and looking into aspects and dealing with people. Again, a quote from my piece. It strikes this writer that what Johnson has done is what any successful con artist does: study and research for his potential, quote, role, and then play it to the hilt by giving the impression of knowledge and professionalism. Again, if you look at the basic talking points in Spencer Cordelia's video about Umar Johnson, they come from my piece. Now, my piece came out specifically July 21st, 2020. So if you want to go back and look it up, like I said, you can go to medium.com/@the-Dr50 to look that up. And I would advise you to do so. So the problem that I have with this guy is stealing ideas from my article to use as talking points for his video. And if you're going to try to rip me off, if you're trying to try to do that, which I've clearly indicated and demonstrated that you have, you at least have to acknowledge where you got some of these ideas from. And you got it from my article. It's obvious that Spencer Cordelia, if he's listening, I doubt he'll listen to this, but it's evident that this guy read my piece in terms of his research on this Umar video. And this is where he got these ideas. If you look at other Umar Johnson videos, and I don't know how many of them are out there, I doubt you have this kind of fidelity. So if you're going to steal from me, at the very least, you can acknowledge me. And you can acknowledge, more importantly, the piece. That's what I require. So it's evident that Spencer Cordelia ripped off a couple of ideas, a couple of aspects, namely what I clearly define Umar Johnson as, which is a con artist. I saw him as a con artist in 2020, and I see him as a con artist now. Nothing has changed for me. I don't deal in Umar. I'm not a professional Umar Johnson critic. I write about film. I have a football podcast. I have other things which I'm involved in. And so I'm not an Umar critic professionally. I wrote one article about the man. It was really an assessment of the individual and what he was as far as I could see. And that's what it was. It wasn't really preoccupied with the FDMG Academy in Delaware. It wasn't preoccupied with the donations. It wasn't preoccupied with all of that. Though it's very clear that Umar Johnson certainly is a scammer and certainly is a con artist. Now, some would argue that Umar Johnson is a failed businessman. Well, that's not much of a business. I would say he's a successful businessman because he's managed to make money off of a lot of innocent people and managed to take their donations. But again, that's been my assessment since July 21st, 2020. And it's my assessment as of September 2024. Nothing's changed. But we get this brand new video by this guy, Spencer Cordelia, who clearly read my piece, incorporated ideas from my piece as conceptual talking points as concepts that he used as talking points. Again, this guy's ripping off. And even if you look at the video, this guy makes mistakes. For example, and he does them deliberately because he wants to clickbait. For example, this guy goes and says, is Umar Johnson a PhD? Is he really have a doctor? And it turns out that the article that he cites from The Root, the African American publication, the writer then did an article later on stating that he had found out that apparently Johnson did graduate from the Philadelphia College of Osteopathic Medicine. So what you're doing is dishonest. You're pretending that, oh, well, investigation was done and these were the results, when the very writer who did the article came out with another article saying, oops, apparently this guy apparently has a PhD. So if you're going to be honest as a YouTuber in terms of exposing people, then you have to state the facts. And if you don't state the facts, then what are you doing? You're basically lying for clickbait, which is what this video to a certain extent does. It doesn't entirely tell the truth, and it's lying for clickbait. Anyway, I've gone over what this guy's done. He clearly read my article, and it's very clear he ripped off a couple of ideas for talking points. So when you look at this Spencer Cordelia's video, 10-year scam to build a fake school, keep in mind that this guy's video is utter crap. I recommend another video by a guy called, I believe his name is Cam James, who did a video on Umar. It's better researched and better done. And don't have the questionable clickbaity stuff. So again, the Spencer Cordelia, you're not fooling anybody. You read my article, you read my piece, and you tried to rip off my piece. So I'm not going to allow you to get away with it. So you can keep lying. I'm sure that this guy will never see this video and he won't be away. But I had to put this on the record and say this guy is clearly dishonest. He's dishonest in some of the things he's reporting in this video about Umar Johnson, and he's dishonest in terms of clearly reading my piece, which he probably won't admit to, and using a couple of ideas for his talking points. Anyway, that's it here. Again, very special video. I don't do these. I don't do content. I don't do anything else on this channel other than promo videos and, of course, my promo series outro. So thanks for watching. Until next time, in terms of a promo, bye, folks.